Miles in, using the new Pure Boost Raw running shoes from Adidas. Hey there, Bioneers. Excuse my dishevelled appearance and shaven hair a mess. Life has still been busy, as I was saying before. I'm moving house and working on doing some upgrades to the site and the YouTube channel. So I haven't been able to record as many videos as I'd like, and when I do, I look like this. I also look like this because I have been running, as you will know from that brief introduction at the start of this video. So I wanted to talk a little bit about that. A lot of people are under the impression that running, particularly steady state cardio, like running long distances, is bad for muscle mass and hypertrophy. And that can be true to some extent, but it's not necessarily true. Allow me to explain. So of course, when you run fast or long distance, your body is forced to take energy from elsewhere other than the energy ATP stored in the muscles and the glucose in the blood. This is why you kick into the aerobic energy system, which is where you start breathing heavily and you start to mobilize fat stores to use to supply energy to the muscles, to the brain and to the lungs, so you can continue to exert yourself. This is the most efficient energy form, but it's also the slowest, which is why we don't use it when we're lifting weights or engaging in spurts of intense exercise, such as a sprint. So obviously you're burning fat, and that's the point for a lot of people when they're doing steady state cardio. They're trying to lose weight, but if you're trying to build muscle, you perhaps don't want to do that, especially as you can also end up burning muscle. And this is the bit I want to talk about, because the reason you burn muscle, partly when you do steady state cardio, sorry, a bit trafficy here, when you do steady state cardio or any other form of exercise that's aerobic in nature, is partly because you deplete those glucose stores in your blood. And when that happens, you produce cortisol. You may know this as the stress hormone. You produce cortisol instead of serotonin. Serotonin is made from tryptophan, which is left over in the blood after the release of insulin. It comes from your food, particularly carbs, and that puts you in a good mood, and it also satiates you, which is why you can use serotonin boosters as a way to diet. So anyways, when you exercise and deplete all your glucose, you produce cortisol, the stress hormone. In short, your body's stressed because it's got no energy and it's telling you, hey man, go and get some food. This also triggers the release of ghrelin, the hunger hormone, and myostatin. And myostatin is the one that we're interested in here. Now, the reason we're interested in myostatin is because myostatin is a protein that causes the breakdown of muscle for energy in this case, and also probably just to keep your body in a more energy efficient state, because fast twitch muscle fiber is very energy hungry, and if you're in a scenario where you don't have access to food, where you're often in a calorie deficit, it's not efficient to be carrying large amounts of muscle around with you. This is dangerous. So myostatin's released, it breaks down muscle, and this is a response to the cortisol increase which comes from the low glucose. And so that's why a lot of people want to avoid cardio if they're weightlifting, but they're missing the bigger picture, because actually if you do cardio, and steady state cardio in particular, not so much high intensity interval training, then you can increase the size of the left ventricle in your heart. This is the part that fills up with oxygenated blood, ready to squeeze it and pump it around your body. When you engage in steady state cardio, slow cardio such as jogging, you're able to train this. Over time you can take in more and more oxygenated blood to pump around your body, and thus your parasympathetic tone improves, and thus your resting heart rate improves, it's lower. This results in better sleep and lower stress, because your stress, your fight or flight response, triggered by the parasympathetic and the sympathetic nervous systems. That's linked very closely to your breathing. When you breathe quickly in a stressed kind of scenario, you go into fight or flight. When you breathe in a slower, more relaxed state, then you go into rest and digest. And rest and digest is essentially the anabolic to the catabolic, that is fight or flight. So in short, training using steady state cardio or anything else that's going to improve your parasympathetic tone, your resting heart rate, will help you to be more anabolic the rest of the time, because you'll be producing less cortisol, more serotonin, and therefore you'll be more anabolic. Therefore, you'll actually produce less myostatin throughout the day and throughout your life. So, while you might burn a little bit of muscle doing the cardio in the short term, in the long term, it might actually help you to build more muscle. Like I said, this doesn't work quite the same for high intensity interval training. And so all the people who are saying stop doing steady state, start doing high intensity interval training, they are being a little bit reactionary and perhaps throwing the baby out with the bathwater, as it were, because HIIT, whilst it's very useful for a lot of things and you should be doing it, it's not the answer to everything. And steady state cardio also has a lot of other great benefits. It's just, you sleep so much better when you've got that improved resting heart rate. You're able to deliver more oxygen and nutrients to your muscles during rest and during workouts, meaning you can have better workouts and more efficient recovery. And in general, it's important to be fit and healthy. So, you know, a lot of people will focus way too much on losing weight or building muscle. Actually, the primary concern should be on being healthy, because then you'll have more energy, then you'll have a better mood, you'll sleep better, and as a result, handshaking, as a result, you'll end up training more and getting better results. So yeah, even if you're a bodybuilder, you should do steady state cardio. And in fact, most professional bodybuilders do. Arnie did. They know the importance of keeping a healthy heart, especially as your body gets bigger and heavier, and for them especially if they're going to be using certain illicit substances. And it's also a great way to cut. If you're going to be eating huge amounts of protein, taking in large amounts of calories, then you want to try and avoid that being stored as fat as far as possible. And any kind of CV will burn your fat stores first, not the muscle. So even if you do a little bit of muscle, just do more working out, more protein and more CV, and you'll have a better overall body composition. So yeah, I hope you found that helpful and or interesting. Ideally both, that's what I was going for. Basically do steady state cardio. Also it's fun, you get to explore new areas, and I'll be posting more about that in future, talking about how to get into running and running shoes, stuff like that, as well as all the usual stuff on fitness, muscle building, brain training, working online, etc. So please subscribe and like this video if you enjoyed it, and stay tuned for much more higher quality, higher volume of videos that is coming, and I appreciate your support very much. So bye for now. This takes selfies to some kind of new low, I think. But it's like you're running with me.